It is impossible for you to escape from the trap that I have set for you.
Hey, Lord. Hey, Lord. I only have one son, Lord. Please spare his life, Lord. Please spare his life.
I swear if I'm lying, then you may die. Or maybe I die first.
Huh? Who had come here? This is the kind of security arrangements you have. Will someone answer me?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
But I'm hoping to see you on Monday and make plans to meet again so we could talk. I need to let you know what I feel for you.
Oh, darling. I cannot wait any longer to see you again. To hold you again. And to once again show you that I love you. I hope that you'll be here for my birthday, Kajiado.
Cons, I don't think we should get married.
Why are you telling me this right now, Max?
There's another woman in my life.
You realize what?
The love that I feel for you.
Bayern Munich hopes to get past Holstein Kiel on Wednesday the 13th of January in their second round matchup of the DFB Cup as they seek to defend their title.
Alaba! Brilliant free kick from the Austrian!
It's another must-watch match you cannot afford to miss on Wednesday the 13th of January from 10:45 p.m. live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1.
Enda pale kwa Palume. Wakeja. Kari ndio hii. Oh, sorry, kifungu ndio hii kari. Ni furaha ile niko nayo. Msichali kete. Wacha tupeane mali ya wenyewe.
Ni vizuri tupe watu vitu zao.
Ucha uchukue mali yako. Ucha uchukue mali yako. Hiyo ndio shamra.
Hiyo ndio shamra ya quick bid.
Umeona? Umeamini?
Nimeamini kabisa.
Hii inaitwa nini?
Hii inaitwa kifungu.
Na hii inaitwa nini?
Toyota Probo.
Toyota Pro. Mpatie kifungu hiyo.
Shika ingine.
Ndio
ya kuendesha.
Onesha.
Na wewe unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Steven.
Steven nani?
Kahuho.
Nakwambia uliwekelea bid ya ngapi brother?
1772 peke yake.
We. Na ndio amejishindia Pro Box. Sasa hii Pro Box inakusaidia aje?
Itakuwa inanisaidia kazi yangu ya kuuza matunda.
Unaambia je watu wa kwenye nyumbani ambao watakuona na hii?
Wote wacheze na quick bid.
Ukweli. Ni ukweli.
Kabisa.
Sasa tufanyie vizuri. Ingia upate mizigo yako bana. Ingia utoshee ukae usikie. Inakutosha sawa? Sisi tulikwambia ni aje? Bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
11 days into the month of January, the year 2021. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for creating time for us on a day when a lot happened, especially at the corridors of justice. There was a change of guard, this being the last day of the country's 14th Chief Justice, David Kenani Maraga, whose retirement is effective tonight at midnight. We got details about his last day in office and, of course, more about how that historic ceremony was conducted at the corridors of justice today. We will be giving you details about that in our comprehensive news bulletin that begins right now. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. Now, we kickstart our day's coverage with matters politics. Murang'a Senator Irungu Kangata now says his letter regarding the uptake of the Building Bridges initiative in Mount Kenya region has been weaponized to brand him a Tanga sympathizer. Kangata's remarks come just a day after the president told off those behind the leaked document. Kangata defended himself against claims that he was being used by some politicians to cause division. According to Kangata, there is a need to build a consensus in the region on the BBI proposals. In his leaked letter, he alleged that only 2 out of 10 persons in the region would support the referendum.
Leakage of that letter, but notwithstanding that fact, the discussion arising out of that letter appears to vindicate my strong view that there are people who are not being candid and frank on matters BBI, particularly the level of approval rating of BBI in our region of Mount Kenya. There's also the lingering question as to whether I am the one who drafted the letter of 30th of December, as to whether were there other political players behind that letter. Let me say no. There was no other political player who was involved in the drafting and making of that letter. It was my own honest and candid assessment of BBI in our region. When good proposals come from whichever side, you now weaponize them. Instead of looking at the merit of a proposal, you start to bastardize that proposal just because it is coming from a certain quarter.
Indeed, it is a subject that continues to elicit reactions across the country. We'll be giving you details about that. Now, we want to focus on other matters. The Kenya National Union of Teachers say they will not heed to the Teacher Service Commission's circular warning them against participating in politics. They argue it is unfortunate for TSC to deny them an opportunity to exercise their democratic right.
The union leaders in Kitui say they will go ahead and participate in politics and run for various positions as the constitution gives them the leeway to do so. Speaking at Muslim Secondary School during the NAT general elections, the teachers condemned TSC for meddling in their rights to support the parties they desire.
Mwajiri ametoa members kwa chama kutoka wakati huo hadi wakati huu, akiwa na lengo analolijua yeye mwenyewe. Kwa sababu zote na walimu walo hapa hatufahamu ni kwa nini walimu wanatolewa chamani. Na wakati tutakuwa unionless, we will be in danger.
NAT Executive Secretary Yate Branch Kasimba Ngui said teachers like any other Kenyan have a right to run for political office.
But we want to tell the employer that the circular we received last month is null and void. We are going to involve ourselves in politics 100%.
His Kitui counterpart Mutunga Ndingo called on teachers to ignore TSC circular warning them against participating in politics, noting that those who desire to run for political office should do so without fear.
Walimu, they are citizens of this republic. So we are saying we cannot allow segregation that we are not participating in politics. We have a right to align ourselves to the political wing, which we think will assist us teachers.
Walimu wakianza kupiga siasa, kusapoti wanasiasa, kusapoti president, wanaambiwa usiongee siasa. Wewe ni mwalimu. Na bado katiba inasema kila citizen ya nchi ako na freedom.
This comes as NAT criticized TSC for starving the union of funds meant to run its affairs. And as the union holds national elections across the country, they have faulted TSC for alleged intimidation by attempting to disintegrate the union.
And on a sad note, residents of Nyandarua County are mourning the death of Rurii Ward MCA John Githinji Mburu, alias Wamaria. Until his demise, Wamaria served as the chair of the Committee on County Delegated Legislation. The dust settles on the acrimonious impeachment of Nyandarua County Assembly Speaker Ndegwa Wahome. The Assembly has been hit with the news of the demise of Rurii Ward MCA Mburu Githinji. Githinji has been serving as the chairman of the Delegated County Legislation Committee. Before joining the County Assembly, the MCA was a farmer and a businessman. He also served as the vice chairperson of Suba Sacco in Kisumu County. Meanwhile, Thika Member of Parliament Patrick Wainaina has challenged Kenyans to elect leaders with integrity in a bid to end the corruption menace in the country. Wainaina has blamed the rampant misappropriation of public funds on selfish leadership and alleged thirst for illegal wealth by a section of elected leaders.
Kenya, we have lost focus, we have lost the way. We are electing good leaders, but when they get to parliament, when they get to the county, when they get to the central government, their work is to eat. We are lacking integrity. And if we are lacking this integrity, it's just a matter of time. And Kenya will be nothing, useless.
Elsewhere, a section of the political class in Busia County has drummed up support for the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill of 2020.
Shida ambayo inatukumba sisi Kenya ni kwamba tumekuwa tukipitishana uongozi kutoka kabila moja kwenda kwa nyingine. Tuende mwelekeo ya BBI kuleta kila Mkenya, sisi kama jamii ya Wateso tuwe hapo ndani.
The demand and the aspiration of every Kenyan is that every Kenyan has a right to an opportunity to the leadership of this country. And the president, I admired his courage to say that the BBI aims to ensure that each tribe has an opportunity, that leadership of this country is not a restrict of two tribes.
And Kajiado residents are relieved following the completion of a 230-kilometer road cutting across 5 sub-counties that is poised to improve development in the region. Yusufara informs us that the road cutting across Isara, Imaroro, Kajiado, Isinya and Kiserian has opened up tourism and seen expansion of shopping centers along the stretch of the road.
The birth of this 230-kilometer tarmac stretch in Kajiado County has come as a welcome reprieve for residents residing along its stretch. The billions worth of tarmac has brought with it significant developments, with several towns coming to life and businesses setting up to reap maximum benefits from the road.
Kilimo inakuja kuendelea hapa. Watu wanaanza biashara, wanauza mafuta na magari, wanauza chakula ya shamba. Anajua hata na sisi wa Masai mbeleni nategemea kasi ya ng'ombe. Wakati huu nategemea kasi ya kilimo kwa ajili kilimo inaona kitu ya faida sana.
Kulikuwa na shida mingi kwa sababu hii kwanza mahali hapa ilikuwa Muram, barabara ilikuwa na mashimo, lakini sasa hizi tunaona at least serikali imekuja kutuokoa.
Tumepata mafanikio ya usafiri. Watoto wetu wanakuanga mahali tofauti tofauti. Na sasa hivi kwenda kumfikia mtoto wako hakuna venye utaweza kosa kumfikia.
The construction was however met with challenges. Defiant sand harvesters are reported to be overloading their lorries and operating at night to avoid authorities. Mashuru District Deputy County Commissioner Baraza Wafula says security teams are working closely with Kenya Rural Roads Authority officers to curb the overloading of trucks.
If you think it is helping you, then you have to do 10 tons or less. And if you do more than that, the law has to take its course.
The road that has also been a tourism boost owing to the fact that Kajiado is home to Savo East and Amboseli National Parks and several private conservancies is expected to be commissioned by the head of state in the first quarter of this year. Yusufar, Channel 1 News.
Allow us to take our first break right here on KBC Lunchtime News. We still have more, including how events turned out at the historic change of guard along the corridors of justice. Do stay with us for that and much more.
Enda pale kwa Palune. Wakenya. Kari ndio hii. Oh, sorry, kifungu ndio hii kari. Ni furaha ile niko nayo. Msijali kete. Wacha tupeane mali ya wenyewe.
Ni vizuri tupe watu vitu zao.
Wacha uchukue mali yako. Wacha uchukue mali yako. Hiyo ndio shamra.
Hiyo ndio shamra ya quick bid.
Umeona? Umeamini?
Nimeamini kabisa.
Hii inaitwa nini?
Hii inaitwa kifungu.
Na hii inaitwa nini?
Toyota Probo.
Toyota Pro. Mpatie kifungu hiyo original.
Shika ingine.
Ndio
ya kuendesha.
Onesha.
Na wewe unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Steven.
Steven nani?
Kahuho.
Nakwambia uliwekelea bid ya ngapi brother?
1772 peke yake.
We. Na ndio amejishindia Pro Box. Sasa hii Pro Box inakusaidia aje?
Itakuwa inanisaidia kazi yangu ya kuuza matunda.
Unaambia je watu wa kwenye nyumbani ambao watakuona na hii?
Wote wacheze na quick bid.
Ni
ukweli.
Ni ukweli.
Kabisa.
Sasa tufanyie vizuri. Ingia upate mizigo yako bana. Ingia utoshee ukae usikie. Inakutosha sawa? Sisi tulikwambia ni aje? Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
The battle for the last 16 places of the DFB Pokal, better known as German Cup, is on. As former champions Bayer Leverkusen and Eintracht Frankfurt face off, hoping to book their place against Otto's SN. Watch it unfold live on your true sports partner KBC Channel 1 on Tuesday, the 12th of January from 10:45 p.m.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Remember, we are streaming this live for you online, so do interact with us. Comment on any story we are bringing your way and we'll be sampling some of your views as we proceed. Right now, we have been following for you the industrial action by the healthcare workers, and today Beatrice Gatonye has been following up on what the clinical officers have to say. I understand today they held a peaceful protest from Uhuru Park to the Council of Governors offices. Let's just go straight there just to follow up on what is happening and what are some of the issues that are being raised by the clinical officers this morning. A very good afternoon, Gatonye. What do you have for us from the front of the clinical officers?
Thank you very much, Serfine Achieng from the studio. My name is Beatrice Gatonye Ngetich. I'm coming live to you from Waiyaki Way, where the clinical officers are actually holding a procession to the COG, the Council of Governors offices here in Nairobi, as they protest mistreatment by the county government. even after signing a return to work formula after weeks of strike. And with me is Secretary General, Clinical Officers, who is going to give us what exactly is happening here. Thank you very much for joining us. Just give us a brief of what is happening today and what is this all about.
Okay, thank you very much for having me on KBC. And I want to say that as you see the clinical officers today, they are out demonstrating against the decision by the Council of Governors not to assent to the document that was agreed in the multi-agency team. And we are actually demanding that they assent to that document so that they can provide platform for clinical officers to continue working. One thing that happened is that on first when we did an agreement where they were not present, they had promised to come and sign the document. Later on, they actually did a letter to the CS Health disassociating themselves from the document and saying that they were not fully consulted. And unfortunately, on the same letter, they also agreed that there was a multi-agency team that was conciliating on the matters that are affecting clinical officer. That actually gave a result of these 18 items that was done in a return to work. But again, they say that we need to go back and agree with the county government individually. This is what we call insincerity by the Council of Governors. And we want to call upon them that they can provide leadership, assent to this document because they appreciate that they nominated people who participated. And the only end result of this conciliation or other negotiation was a return to work. And the only way they can actually ensure that they are doing favor to Kenyans is by assenting to that document, so that even if it is done by this evening or rather midnight, we will be back to work anytime, because there is nothing that again we are demanding. We are only demanding that the Council of Governors sign fully the document that they negotiated for.
So you're saying that the strike is still on until they assent to that document? Precisely,
because the only document that provides for any employee to go back to work after negotiation, after going on strike, is a return to work. The return to work, if it's not in place, the only other thing that can compel people to go back to work is a court order. And there is no court order. The strike is still legal. Once you take away the tool that was taking back the clinical officer, then you say that the status quo ensue. That is to mean clinical officer resume strike, which they have now done. And we are going to their offices to demand that they assent to this document and be sincere to Kenyans so that they can pay allegiance to what they promised Kenyans, so that we can continue offering services. And indeed, we need to appreciate the move by the President to intervene on this matter through the Minister of Health and the Minister of Labor. But unfortunately, we have to protest this move by the Council of Governors by disassociating themselves from the return to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the Secretary General Clinical Officers in Kenya who is giving us a brief of what is happening today. And actually, as you've heard, it's about a document that the Council of Governors, a return to work formula document that they have refused to sign. He says the strike is still on until the governors are assent to that document, so that the clinical officers can go back to work and continue offering services to Kenya. Reporting to you, coming to you live from Nairobi. My name is Beatrice Gatonya Ngetich. I return you back to Serfine, Achieng, Ouma, back to the studio.
Thank you so much, Beatrice Gatonye Ngetich there, just following up on the industrial action by clinical officers who say and maintain they have resumed their strike over what they term as a failure by the counties to fulfill their side of the bargain when it comes to the return to work formula agreement. Now, we want to focus on other matters. Chief Justice David Kenani Maraga has handed over the instruments of power to his deputy, Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu, who will be acting Chief Justice pending the appointment of a substantive Chief Justice. The 5-year tenure of Maraga in the judiciary will come to an end at the stroke of midnight following his attainment of the mandatory 70 years retirement age for judges. In his farewell ceremony held at the Supreme Court of Kenya, members of the judiciary paid glowing tribute to Maraga, hailing him for what they termed as outstanding service and leaving a legacy of change, key among them being upholding the independence of the judiciary and ensuring the harnessing of technology through digitization in the dispensation of justice.
transformation to where it is today is our collective achievement, for which I draw enormous pride. I want to add here my fellow colleagues and judges. The people of Kenya have constitutionally bestowed upon you to be the guardians of our Constitution, to uphold the rule of law. I have heard sometimes politicians say that they are better off because they are elected. I want to tell you that according to our constitutional architecture, they have no better power than what you have. It is the people of Kenya who gave you the judicial authority to exercise it for their own good. I want to urge that you don't let the people of Kenya down. I'm sure you live in this country and you have seen the drums of political war being beaten already. My colleagues, if you waver and do the wrong thing, and this country descends into chaos, God will never forgive you. Fellow Kenyans, once again, I want to thank you most sincerely for the support you have given me. And I trust that you will give the same support to the acting Chief Justice until my predecessor is appointed, and thereafter continue to give the judiciary support to uphold the rule of law in this country. Say no to impunity and maintain the rule of law. May God bless you abundantly. May God bless our beloved country, Kenya. Thank you very much.
I have gained immensely from working with you, learning from your mentorship, encouragement in moments of weakness, and your advice. President of our court, you led us with your knowledge, fair and balanced disposition, your courteous demeanor, and your neutral and sensitive consideration of the opinion of your colleague judges, as well as the arguments and submissions of counsel before us. Beyond inventing an important ringtone, as Chief Justice, your commitment, your vision, and leadership accelerated transformation in the judiciary. It deepened independence of the institution, accountability of judges, and transparency across the institution. It increased public confidence in the courts and tribunals and enhanced access to justice for many Kenyans. My Lord, you leave a proud, irreversible legacy, particularly in regard to harnessing technology towards the effective and efficient dispensation of justice, judicial independence, protecting and entrenching the rule of law, and fidelity to the same across public governance to the Constitution.
And as his mark of change is celebrated in the judiciary, we can only wish him all the best in his retirement. Now, on to some sad news. A 4-year-old girl has died while undergoing treatment at Mwingi Hospital, while 3 others sustained serious injuries after unknown assailants allegedly set their house on fire. Confirming the incident, Mwingi Central Police Commander Peter Mutuma said 4 people were in the house when the fire ravaged the premises. The 3 are recuperating in hospitals in Mwingi and Kitui towns.
Kivo Village, Mwingi Central Sub-County. This is all that is left of what some residents used to call home. The house is alleged to have been set ablaze by unknown arsonists.
Mwaka uliopita mwezi wa 12 ndio tulifanya mara ya kwanza, tukapikiwa moto kwa nyumba, tukawa tumefungua na nje, kanangana pale kwa nyumba, kulikuwa na chuma iko pale kanangana na majirani wakakuja kufungulia.
According to Mwingi Central Police Commander Peter Mutuma, 4 people were in the house when the fire started.
Hao watu walikuja kuchoma nyumba, walikuwa hapa wiki moja iliyokwisha, na polisi wakakuja wakafanya upelelezi yao na wakaenda, na kutoka wakati huo hakuna kitu tumejua, hakuna hata suspect mmoja amepatikana. Sasa leo hao watu wamerudi tena walirudi na nguvu nyingi sana, wakachoma nyumba pamoja na watu ndani.
3 people sustained serious injuries and are now receiving treatment in hospitals in Mwingi and Kitui. A 4-year-old girl succumbed to her injuries while undergoing treatment at a Mwingi hospital.
Sisi wote tulichomeka, Libya lichomeka kiwango hata hapa Mwingi hatuweza kutibiwa na ule mtoto sana.
Wale waliokuwa ndani walichomeka wakaumia, wakapelekwa hospitali, na kwa bahati mbaya kuna mmoja ametuacha. Wale wengine bado wameathirika sana na bado wako hospitalini.
Residents are decrying increased cases of insecurity in the area, calling on authorities to intervene.
Na mimi nachangaa sana kwa vile hata ile safari ya kwanza nyumba ilichomwa, hakuna hatua imeshukuliwa, hakuna mtu ameshikwa. Hata sisi tuko na hofu sana hapo Kivu, tunahofia sana maisha yetu.
Hiyo kisa kilitendeka na hakuna hatua ile imechukuliwa, na tena tukashikwa na uongo mingi sana.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Now, Muslim leaders from North Rift region are urging parents to allow their children to attend Madrasa classes following the resumption of physical learning. The leaders are decrying the low turnout, calling on the government to support resumption of Madrasa within the COVID-19 health safety measures.
Barely a week after reopening of schools across the country, Muslim leaders in North Rift region are yet to fully return to school. Speaking in Eldoret, Abubakar Bin expressed the need for the government through the Ministry of Health to ensure all teachers as they deal with many students and risk contracting the virus.
Na elimu ndio msingi mkubwa ambao unajenga watoto wetu. Sasa watoto wakitopata elimu inakuwa ni hasara ya taifa. Na walimu
katika hili janga la corona, watoto wengi asilimia kama 30, kuna wengine walipata mimba za mapema, kuna wengine wameingia katika mambo ya madawa na maulevi. Haitoshi misikiti na makanisa tu, ni mahali pa kuabudiwa, mahali pa kumjenga mtoto kiimani na kitabia, ni mahali kama hapa madrasa.
At the same time, they are calling on parents and the government to support the full resumption of Madrasa classes. Reporting for Channel 1, I'm Jacqueline Masharia.
And from that report by Jacqueline Masharia, we are now going to focus on some international news. We begin in the U.S. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has stepped up the pressure on Vice President Mike Pence to act to remove Donald Trump from office over his role in last week's storming of the Capitol. Lawmakers are expected to bring up a resolution asking Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to declare the president unfit for office.
President Donald Trump has been accused by Democrats and an increasing number of Republicans over the riot following a rally in which Trump repeated unsubstantiated allegations of vote fraud. 5 people died in the attack, including a Capitol Police officer. Trump has made no public statement since he was banned from several social media platforms, including Twitter, on Friday. Trump is due to leave office on 20th of January when Democrat Joe Biden will be sworn in as president. Elsewhere, the Indonesian Navy has released footage of divers searching through the wreckage of a passenger plane which crashed into the sea at the weekend as the hunt for its black boxes resumes. Sriwijaya Air Boeing 737 left Jakarta with 62 people on board but vanished on the radar on its way to Borneo Island on Saturday. Search teams have already found aircraft parts and human remains. The plane's black boxes, which have been located, are yet to be recovered. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Ekiti state has announced a nighttime curfew beginning Monday, citing the alarming rate at which the second wave of COVID-19 is spreading in the country. The state has also banned all gatherings of more than 20 people. Finally, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune has left the country for treatment in Germany less than a month after his return. He was being treated for COVID-19 for 2 months until 29th December when he returned home. The 75-year-old president will be treated for a food problem related to the coronavirus infection, Reuters news agency reports. The president's 2-month absence have fueled speculation over his ability to finish his first term.
Begin by looking at the cotton market. A section of cotton farmers from Busia are calling for the revival gineries to support the local textile industry. They argue that even with the commercialization of genetically modified BT cotton that has led to a bumper harvest, they are staring at losses owing to the lack of market for their produce.
As part of the Big Four agenda under the manufacturing pillar, the government purposed to revive the textile industry. Part of the steps taken was the introduction of cotton seed improved with a BT gene to provide inherent resistance to the devastating African bollworm pest, boosting cotton production. Farmers say this is working.
Tofauti ile nimeona ni kwamba BT ina mazao mazuri na haina wadudu. Ikipasuka inapasuka pamba nyeupe kabisa.
Tuliweza kupanda vizuri, ikachubuka, ikamea, na tunashukuru percentage yake ya kumea ilimea vizuri sana.
However, farmers in Busia are concerned that despite the bumper harvest, their produce could lack market as the Mulwanda ginery they were counting on is yet to be revived.
Ile chakula ingine kama wibi, kama mahindi, ikikosa soko naweza kula. Lakini sasa paba kama hakuna soko inakuja inafanya mkulima afikie.
They decried the influence of middlemen in the market who purchase at a lower price at the expense of the farmer. Agriculture officials have assured farmers that the county has put in place measures to ensure cotton factories purchase their produce.
Upande wa soko tuko na kampuni mbili na wote wamekuja na maombi ya kwamba wangependa kununua hiyo cotton ambayo wakulima wamevuna. Kuna mkataba ambao tumeingia na kampuni zenyewe.
Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
And the East African Business Council is urging for lowering and harmonization of COVID-19 related charges in the East African community in a bid to ease the cost of doing business and boost intra-EAC trade. The bloc argues that lack of harmonization of COVID-19 testing rates in accredited laboratories and uncoordinated waiting time for the test results is disrupting cross-border trade.
In October last year, the World Bank predicted growth in sub-Saharan Africa to fall by negative 3.3% in 2020, driven by the economic fallout of the COVID-19 global pandemic. In a bid to avert this, East African Business Council is urging for lowering and harmonization of COVID-19 related charges in the East African community in a bid to ease the cost of doing business and boost intra-EAC trade. According to the bloc's chief, Dr. Mutuku Mathuki, the East African Community Secretariat should fast-track regional coordination and harmonization of measures on COVID-19 for economic resilience and growth of the East African bloc. Different preventive and restrictive measures undertaken by the EAC partner states to control the spread of COVID-19 have significantly slowed down trade, movement of persons and integration. The trickle-down effects of these measures have also been felt across affiliated industries and the rest of the economy. Dr. Mathuki noted that a reduction in harmonization of COVID-19 related non-tariff barriers will enable businesses tap into the opportunities availed by the African Continental Free Trade Area. African Continental Free Trade Area prioritizes addressing challenges in trade policy, productive capacity, hard and soft infrastructure, trade information, and market integration, which are critical for doing business in the continent. Currently, COVID-19 tests are priced differently in each partner state, while the containment measures are varied. Elsewhere, Mizizi Africa Homes has reported increased appetite for its affordable homes by Kenyans in the diaspora and foreign investors owing to global political events last year, technology, and improved transparency on local projects. According to Mizizi Africa Homes Chief Executive Officer George Mboro, the unveiling of Kenya's first licensed investment fund, the African Diaspora Asset Managers licensed by the Capital Markets Authority, is boosting the confidence of Kenyans living abroad to place their investment through a safe and regulated platform. Further, financial analysts attribute the rise in diaspora remittances to political heat that characterized the U.S. elections. Among other key reasons, many Kenyans are opting to invest their savings back at home. And Emirates Airline has appointed Christophe Lowe as the new country manager for Kenya, effective 1st January 2021. This appointment is expected to support Emirates operations in Kenya and the wider East Africa as the airline continues to restore its operations, capitalize on shifting market dynamics, and navigate the complex changes posed by the global pandemic. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Now, a billionaire diamond magnate is to go on trial in Switzerland of allegations of corruption linked to a major mining deal in Guinea. Benny Steinmetz, who has both Israeli and French nationality, has always denied his company paid multi-million-dollar bribes to obtain iron ore mining exploration permits in southern Guinea back in 2008. Details of this and other stories in our Africa Business News Roundup.
Benny Steinmetz's lawyer says he will travel to Israel to Geneva to plead his innocence. If convicted, he could face up to 10 years in prison. It is rare for a major corruption case to go to trial in Switzerland, where the 64-year-old is reported to be a former resident. Prosecutors have spent 6 years investigating a deal that gave Steinmetz's company, BSG Resources, rights to mine a large area of a mountainous region of Simandu. It contains one of Africa's and the world's biggest untapped reserves of iron ore. Meanwhile, the UK Nigeria Tech Hub and Nigeria's Engineering Training Institute, Decagon Digital, have announced the pilot phase of the developer placement program. The two plan to recruit and pair shortlisted SMEs with 100 vetted software engineers to help SMEs build web apps while they gain experience. All software engineers that intend to apply for the program must have graduated from a recognized software engineering institute in Nigeria. For SMEs to be eligible to apply for the program, they must have a social impact projector product that needs developers to either scale or improve existing features. And Schneider Electric has announced 2 leadership appointments for the Anglo-African region. The company says appointments are part of the continuation of the mission to provide cutting-edge technological solutions to the African continent. With 1 internal and 1 external appointment, the company hopes to demonstrate its confidence in its existing talent while acknowledging the importance of bringing new expertise and insight into the organization.
China is pushing back against a flurry of U.S. sanctions with new rules that protect its farms from what it terms as unjustified foreign laws. Changes announced over the weekend will now allow Chinese courts to punish companies that comply with such restrictions. Details of this and other stories in our Global Business Roundup.
U.S. President Donald Trump has continued to target Chinese companies he believes are a threat to the U.S. national security. Measures include punishing companies that supply parts to blacklisted firms. On Monday, 3 large Chinese telecoms firms listed on the New York Stock Exchange are expected to see their shares delisted based on alleged ties with its military. The New York Stock Exchange is removing China Mobile, China Telecom and China Unicom Hong Kong based on an executive order signed by Trump in November. The measures, which came into effect immediately, do not mention the U.S. directly, although China has long complained about U.S. sanctions and restrictions on trade. Meanwhile, Hyundai Motor and Apple Inc. plan to sign a partnership deal on autonomous electric cars by March and start production around 2024 in the United States, local Korea media reported on Sunday. The report follows a statement on Friday from Hyundai Motor that it was in an early talks with Apple after another local media outlet said the company is aimed to launch a self-driving electric car in 2027, sending Hyundai shares up nearly 20%. Hyundai Motor declined to comment on the report on Sunday and reiterated Friday's comments that it's received requests for potential cooperation from various companies on developing autonomous EVs. And US-based investment powerhouse KKR & Co. said Monday it has closed a fund targeting infrastructure-related investment in Asia-Pacific at $3.9 billion. The fund, KKR's first in the region for the sector, closed at its hard cap to become the largest pan-regional infrastructure fund for Asia-Pacific, the firm said in a press release. KKR invested about $300 million in the fund alongside external investors through its balance sheet and employee commitments. KKR first established its global infrastructure team and strategy in 2008 but entered Asia only 11 years later when it poached David Lubov, then a CEO of Macquarie Group's Asia Infrastructure Fund, to build out its Asia team. It launched the fundraising later that year.
Now moving on from business to other matters, Lawrence Warunge, the prime suspect in the murder of a family of 5 in Kiambu County, and his girlfriend Sarah Muthoni, will remain in police custody for 14 days pending the outcome of investigations. Detectives probing the case requested for additional time to process exhibits found at the scene of the crime. Warunge will be remanded at Muthaiga while Muthoni will be held at Gigiri respectively. They are expected to undergo a mental assessment before taking plea. Time for us to focus on matters sports. Now, Moise Kean scored for the 3rd straight game as Paris Saint-Germain won the first time under Maurizio Pochettino. Paris Saint-Germain humbled Brest 3-0 and are now point behind leaders Lyon, who were held 2-2 at Reims.
Argentina forward Mauro Icardi doubled the lead before Spain midfielder Pablo Sarabia scored from 20 yards. PSG are 1 point behind leaders Lyon, who were held to a 2-2 draw at Rennes. Pochettino's first game in charge had ended in a 1-1 draw away at Saint-Etienne on Wednesday.
And on to some more sporting action. Brighton goalkeeper Jason Steele went from villain to hero with 4 penalty saves as they beat Newport 4-3 in an FA Cup third-round shootout at Rudney Parade after an entertaining 1-1 draw in regulation time. All right, and we now want to focus on other matters. Right now, at the Deputy Speaker's office at the Nairobi County Assembly, there is currently an update on the Nairobi County Acting Speaker. Let's just listen into what is going on.
We now want to request them as we approach BBI discussion in this country. We have had enough of their incitement to the public against BBI, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and his brother Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. They should now spare us. We also saw them running away from their own statement of dividing Kenyans on the tribal lines and trying to pass the buck to other people on the narrative that they started a year back. This country has a story of 42 tribes. It's not new to us. If they are forgetting, we want to remind them it is Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, Moses Kuria, and Kipchumba Murkomen who began one year back inciting members of public that Kenya was not ready for another Kikuyu president. Then they thought they were campaigning for the deputy president, who is not a Kikuyu. When that did not sell, they changed the tune and branded their bus Tanga Tanga. When they went around the country and they did not harvest anything, they came up with an idea to give poor Kenyans wheelbarrows and brand them hustlers so that they look like they are fighting the dynasty, which they did not tell us who they are. We want to remind them that charity begins at home and remind the Kenyan youth that if wheelbarrows would bring change in our life, then they would have started distributing wheelbarrows from Sugoi and not Nairobi. The business of distributing wheelbarrows in Nairobi was not about the youth of Nairobi.
All right, we are going to be following up that story for you, just tracking what is happening on the road to the Nairobi gubernatorial race. There is just an update from some of the leaders with regards to what is happening with regards to the preparations for that race. And we are staying close to just give you more details about how that is panning out. Now, we have come to the end of our news bulletin. Thank you so much for according us your audience. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. We appreciate you creating time for us. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.